Again?
Do you need a towel
Fucking
break?
blew up
How's it
all
going
over
over
me.
there?
Again, I might need one. It's fucking everywhere.
What you don't know is I snuck over to Texas and shook it before we started recording.
Don't mind me, Jake. Don't mind me.
I don't.
I feel like this is a good analogy of how the movie draft is going for me.
That's actually true.
Okay.
Well, now that that's over with, welcome to Movie Boners.
Hi, everyone. Stupid beer blowing up on me. As if I did
I
something
hope it's worth
wrong.
it.
Jeez.
What beer are you drinking?
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. Let me try it. You tell us about your beer first, Jake.
Okay. Well, my beer is on theme, of course. It is from the Loveland Ale Works in Loveland, Colorado. And it is called, actually, I think it's a collaboration with the Wiley Roots Brewing Company as well. I don't know where they're from. And it's called Fluffernutter from Another Mother. Fluffernutter from Another Mother Pastry Stout. And it's a pastry stout, which I've never had before, with marshmallow and peanut butter flavor. And it's pretty good.
That's what a fluffernutter
It's very sweet,
is.
but it's pretty good.
Yeah? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine is also on point. Mine is a IPA because they're delicious. But mine is Mama Tries.
That's good. That is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the beer's not too bad. Not too bad.
Worth the wait, I hope. Well,
yeah.
Now that painful situation is over with, let's get into the painful situation of the movie draft.
So bad. Worst part of the show.
Well, sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. It kind of depends. For you, right now, yes, it is bad.
It is the worst part of the show for me.
Yeah, you're not doing good, not doing great. Have not moved much since last time we've checked in. Some things to note. A couple of days ago when we were recording this, May 5th, Love Again came out, as did Guardians of the Galaxy. The interesting thing is that Love Again made about 1% of the Guardians of the Galaxy box office, which is bad in general. Also, Guardians of the Galaxy passed John Wick Chapter 4 as the highest rated movie so far this year at an 8.4, if that holds.
Yep.
And I thought I was actually... So this is some good news for you. I thought I was going to close the gap in the Rotten Tomatoes projection because Big George Foreman came out a couple weeks ago, or the full title is Big George Foreman, the miraculous story of the once and future heavyweight champion of the world. It came out, and the difference between the critics rating and the audience rating at Rotten Tomatoes is a whopping 52%. And I thought that would help my average, which is, my average is not very good compared to yours. Yours is more than double mine. However, since then, Love Again, the critics gave it a 17% at Rotten Tomatoes, and audiences gave it a 94%, which gave it a 77% difference. That's crazy to me. It seems to be a perfectly fine movie that people are enjoying enough to recommend. But yeah, so that's where Love Again is. Also, Beau is Afraid is getting a little bit more box office. Still a long ways to reach its budget of $35 million, though. It's kind of a massive bomb for A24. As far as box office goes, it's kind of flopped, especially compared to Hereditary and Midsommar. Those were 82 million and 48 million. So that's, bad in general. And then final thing, Super Mario Brothers passed $1 billion all on its own.
Yeah, it really did.
It really did.
Chris Pratt has like the 2 highest grossing movies of the year. That guy knows how to movie. apparently.
Yeah, it's a good year to be Chris Pratt, that's for
Damn you,
sure.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah, Guardians, I think,
Damn you,
passed
Chris
its
Pratt.
projection of $250 million for opening weekend. So that should go pretty far, I think. But it's my only movie in May. So this is going to be the May of Dustin. And you get Fast X and Little Mermaid and Spider-Man. Spider-Man will be good. So, yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
We don't gotta see the graph, Jake. God damn it.
I like the graphs. The graphs
It's so
are fun.
bad already. You don't have to.
All right.
I know
let's
you
move
do.
on.
I know. I'm just being a sore loser.
Sore losing person. You haven't lost yet. There's a long ways to go. We're not even halfway through the year.
True. We kind of are
Yeah.
about halfway through the year.
We're very close. We're like a month away. Have you seen anything new?
I did. I saw 3 new movies. I saw Evil Dead Rise, which was not bad. It was very fun.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. It was very entertaining. Good nods to the original without trying to be like super member-berry about it, or at least I didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
I saw Beau is Afraid.
Okay.
And that movie sucked. It's so bad. I
Are
can't
you
believe
serious?
it has that good of a rating. I'm
Are you
serious.
joking?
I fucking hated that movie.
You are
so
not
much.
joking.
No, dead serious.
Wow.
Fucking hated that movie. Absolutely terrible movie.
Interesting.
He lost it. Like his brilliance, he lost it on this one. I think he got too ambitious. The movie bothered me. It was so boring. It was just uninteresting. And it just kept getting weird just to be weird.
Hmm.
And when they finally had an opportunity to redeem the movie, I was excited. I was like, okay, here we go. Like, if you do this one thing, it'll completely redeem the whole movie, and I will love it. And then he takes a hard left into absurdity that just, I was like, the theater, okay, so the theater was pretty full when I saw it. Everyone just like left that movie just groaning, like, what the fuck was that?
Oh no.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, and then I saw the rating on IMDb being like 7.3 or 7.4. And I was like, no, that movie deserves like a hard 3.
Damn. Brutal. Okay.
I hated it. The more I think about that movie, the more I'm just like, nope, that movie sucks. Hated it.
Interesting. That is very disappointing.
So when you tell me that it's basically a bomb for...
But at the same time, I want to say I'm more intrigued to watch it, to see how I feel, if I agree or not.
I would be intrigued to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
But I don't have high hopes that you would enjoy it as much as I think you want to.
Yeah, I do have high hopes already, or I did until now.
I was so mad during that movie. So mad during it. Loved every moment of Guardians. It was fantastic. It's a perfect finale to the trilogy. I loved it.
Good.
And that made me happy.
Yeah.
What'd you see, Jake?
I saw a handful of things. I started season 2 of From, that show that I told you is great and crazy. Second season started. It is also great and crazy.
I haven't watched it yet.
I friggin' love this show. I want it to go so many seasons, so everybody needs to watch From, a show that you've probably never heard of. It's wild and scary and mysterious. So it's great. I finally watched 65, the dinosaur space movie. And it was weirdly paced. It does weird things with the writing that I was like a little confused about. It felt like it should be a family movie a lot of the time, and then it was also like pretty violent. And I was like, well, I don't really know where this movie's going. So I feel like 65 is very mid overall. It was fine, but it wasn't great. And it also tries to do a lot of relational interstellar things, but a lot worse without any setup or payoff. So I was, not really there for it. So yeah, I think that's all I'm watching. Before we get in the episode, I was going to ask you, though, on the topic of current events.
Yeah.
Do you have any opinions about the writer's strike that just recently happened?
So I haven't followed too closely to it. I get it. Sure. And a lot like the last time the writer's strike happened, I got it then too. It was for the same reasons. They're not getting paid what they feel is fair. And I guess wages in the entertainment business, there's never a base. Like, normal jobs have base pays. Everyone can pretty much guess what you're going to make because it's all hourly. But entertainment business, it is not based hourly. I don't even know if anyone who actually writes the checks even knows how they actually pay out people. But I get it. I saw a good example of one. What was the show called, though? It was some like cooking show on Hulu or something that came out in the last year. Won a ton of awards, best writing, best like comedy drama series or whatnot. Won all these awards, but the writers, I guess, are still like barely having enough money in their pocket to pay their monthly rent. And so it was presented as this high-rated show, this piece of entertainment that these guys wrote and created, and the creators are like struggling just on basic living, whereas everyone else has gone on, like, they don't even bat an eye because they get hundreds of millions of dollars for whatever.
Right.
So I definitely get it. It's a bummer because it has a huge ripple effect in if you enjoy entertainment. For those that don't know or quite get what's happening, you're not going to get anything new for a while.
Yeah. The last writer's strike, we're old enough to remember the last writer's strike from like 2008.
Yeah.
And I feel like that lasted almost a year. It lasted a really long time.
It lasted a long time. So anything that was about to go into production is now on hold. So if anything was already in post-production, that's okay. So the movies that are slated for the rest of the year, they're still good for the most part.
Yeah.
But after that, everything's on hold. And that's what happens with the writer's room is because these guys, but they do constant rewrites on sets. That's why everything's on hold, because now there is no one doing rewrites. And crew members and actors and directors all kind of as like solidarity, they're all basically on strike right now too. So the only people not on strike are producers.
I think some of it's solidarity. I think some of it is also getting fucked over because I think a lot of when the writers go on strike, production shuts down. And so if you're in makeup or lighting or camera operators or whatever, you don't have a job suddenly because somebody else wants more money, which even if they have a valid reason, kind of sucks for you trying to get your paycheck.
Yeah, it's a huge snowball effect. I get it. It sucks. I do also feel for all the other people whose jobs are now suddenly like on hold, because you don't get paid to go on strike.
Right. Yeah, I don't have terribly strong opinions about it. Generally, I think I watched a couple of interviews from these writers on the picket line, and there's some funny, well-known people that are out there, and so it's kind of interesting to watch them, and they make silly signs and stuff, so it's kind of funny. But it seemed like one of their main complaints is that the royalty checks they get from stuff that they've written before is like gone down a lot on streaming, and streaming they really don't know how to figure out what to do with royalties for all of these people who've And so these things get streamed and watched and consumed, and they're old movies. And generally, you would get a check whenever like a TV station played one of your things that you wrote before, whether like it's in syndication or whatever. But so there's complaining that there's like not a lot of good competition between all these different streaming sources and stuff that kind of own one thing, and they're able to, and then they don't play very much in royalties for that one thing. Like the contracts are just weird. But it's weird to me that they would complain about competition in that industry when you're in a literal writers guild. Like you're in a union and nobody who's not in that union can come in and write for a show. Like you can't get new ideas or new competition off the street. You have to join the club in order to be in the guild, and then only approved writers are able to write for certain things, or only approved grips are able to work on certain jobs. Just the whole union thing I'm not really down with. But in general, I think it's awkward to have everything put on hold all of a sudden, and it sucks for the people whose day-to-day life is affected. And it will be very interesting for next year's draft to see what movies are actually coming out. We have no idea.
Yeah, because like the last half of the year, there's a lot of movies that are not in post-production yet.
Mm-hmm.
They're still filming some stuff, and their movie is slated for a few months down the road.
Mm-hmm.
They're on hold. So it'll be interesting to find out like if stuff is going to start getting, but I haven't seen anything get officially postponed yet.
Yeah. Still new though.
Except for movies getting ready to go into production. So one of those being James Gunn's Superman movie is on hold right now. Although he wrote the script, but they can't go into further process at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see if like he gets a little gray area leeway. But I feel that would be completely against the whole thing. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of starts going on from here on down the road. But the writer's strike, I feel like it just kind of happened. I don't really watch the news. So I found out about it from just like, bored scrolling on Instagram. And a couple of the people I follow, like celebrity-wise, were like, oh, we're in solidarity with the guys. And I get that. I also can't help but feel that some of these celebrity faces are only showing solidarity because it keeps their face in the spotlight.
It's the new popular thing. It's not cool to support Ukraine anymore, so now they're going to support writers.
You got to keep up with the trend, man. It's all about the trending topic.
Yep, that's how you keep your name in the news.
Yeah,
that's the name of the game.
It'll be interesting. I kind of I don't watch a lot of shows. Like the most shows I watch these days are old shows that are no longer on. They did their run. That's what I watch because
I'm watching like the final season of things. Like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is ending. Barry is ending. I'm watching those, and I don't have any except if they freaking cancel From because of this, I will be very upset.
It wouldn't get canceled; it would just be put on hold
until it gets put on hold long enough that everybody moves on with their lives to different things, and it just dies.
Which that can happen, actually.
Yeah. It could lose its audience. There's a lot. It could go sideways.
It really could. It really could. So it'll be interesting to see if this strike lasts as long as that last one from 2008. Or people stop following up on it, and one day it just kind of is like, the strike is over, we get our wages. But I don't see them fixing that immediately. The problem with the streaming stuff is no studio has actually, I feel, sat down to figure out how to divvy up stuff. The actors all just went through this 5 or 6 years ago, trying to figure out how they get their royalties for all the streaming. They didn't go on strike. They just started threatening studios to not do projects, and they got their way. So
Yeah, I feel like actors have it easier than people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They're like, less people follow those.
Yeah.
And they obviously don't get paid as much in general. You're not going to have a Tom Cruise writer, you know?
Right. So it'll be interesting. I'm bummed to see it happen again. But at least it's something different in the news.
It's true. I hope that it brings out new ideas. Oh, one of the interesting things about it, I didn't mean to talk about this long, but one interesting thing I did want to bring up, I noticed that there's concern among writers as well that they can be replaced by AI now, artificial intelligence.
Hate this AI shit, dude.
I hate it too, but I think that it could be good because the main reason that I think writers could be replaced by AI is because they're doing such basic, simple, cookie cutter, boring stuff that a machine could turn out this shit. But if you make real, sincere, human stories, that can't be replaced, or at least not for a very long time. So maybe they'll turn out better stuff, and it'll create new
I don't hold
ideas.
The writers so responsible for turning in the same cookie cutter shit. I blame the studios thinking that that's all that people want to watch.
True. And maybe it's audience's fault for watching it.
And I think it's audience's faults too. I hate the AI stuff. Every time I see something AI, like it infuriates me to just absolutely every level possible. I fucking hate this AI obsession that people have. All of a sudden, the people praise it. I'm like, cool. So we should just kill ourselves right now, right? Like,
yeah, it's like nobody has ever watched a sci-fi movie. You have no idea what that means.
That, and I also think just like you really genuinely want to be this lazy. Like, you seriously don't want to put any work into something. You just want the AI to take care of it. Go fuck yourself.
I'll type in a couple prompts. It'll do it all for me.
You know what? Go ahead and at me about it if you love AI. I'm not going to listen to you. I just think it's the absolute worst idea. I think it's horrible. I think the people that are like proud of doing this AI bullshit, like, they all need to go somewhere else. They need to... I fucking hate it. It enrages me. I'm so tired of AI bullshit. And watch a goddamn movie. They tell you straight up, knock the shit off.
Yeah. It's only going to get worse and worse from here.
Oh.
All right. Well, I'm glad that we went down that rabbit hole. Let's get into today's episode.
Today is a lovely, lovely episode.
Yes. So we are releasing this on Mother's Day.
Hi, Mom.
And hi, Mom. I'm on TV. We're going to do our top 10 movie moms, just like last year we did our top 10 movie dads when I became a dad. Neither of us are moms at this point yet. We'll see what happens in the future.
God.
You can become a... Let's not go there.
Nope.
But I did realize a couple of days ago, we said, hey, let's do our top 10 moms for Mother's Day. But we never really talked at all about what that means to us. So this could be the characters that are best at being moms. It could be the most interesting characters who just happen to be moms. It could be MILFs. I don't really know where this is going to go.
I mean,
because
I think my list is pretty predictable.
Okay.
Your list, I think, could be everything you just said.
I don't have any MILFs. I'm just going to throw it out
there. I will say, full disclosure, the majority of my list is all very heartfelt, very endearing mother characters.
Okay.
I do have one that has all the right intentions, but is just the worst.
Okay.
And then I also have one that is endearing, but not quite so affectionate like the other moms on my list. But she is a mother.
Okay. Yeah, I would say my list gets more idealistically motherly towards the end.
Okay.
Last half, the top 5. The bottom 5, are kind of dodgy in the sense that they're either barely mothers or questionably good mothers, or mothers who generally figure it out in the end, but kind of fuck it up for a long time.
Okay.
It's kind of a mixed bag, I guess, but I like them all for different reasons.
Well, let's do this. I am curious because we didn't specify the kind of like mom figures we were kind of bringing down, but I kind of like that we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I realized about halfway through mine, I was like, oh yeah, mine is very like heartfelt, and to the point where I was like, I kind of had to rethink a couple of them. Like, all right, how many moms do I need on my list that are going to make people cry? And then I was like, no, you need them all. So
yeah, I have a couple of those.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do this.
I'm pretty sure I went first for our femme fatales.
I'm pretty sure you're correct as well.
Okay, so you go first this time.
I think I can do
By the way, this is the third female-centric episode in the last 4 episodes, so maybe we should... I mean, women are great. I love them.
I was like, Jesus Christ, here we go. He's digging the hole out the gate.
I love them. They're magical creatures as far as I'm concerned.
Our next couple episodes have nothing to do with female-centric characters.
Yeah. We're going to have to stop praising them at some point and just move on. So enjoy while it lasts, mothers. This is the last one.
Movie boners is like the Titanic. We were doing okay, and now we're sinking.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jake.
Big mouth
Thanks, Jake, for running us into that iceberg. Bastard.
Anyway, on that note, who's your 10th favorite mother?
Let's do this. Top 10 mom figures. Well, my number 10 is the mom that I hinted at earlier, just a second ago, where she has the best intentions of don't fuck with my family. But she goes about protecting or standing up for her family in the worst possible way. She's also one of the most entertaining and hilarious characters that I have just enjoyed watching since I was young and not supposed to have seen this movie, but I watched it anyways. That was the kind of kid I was. Yeah. So my number 10 is a mother by the name of Beverly Sutphin. Most people our age group would know her as the Serial Mom. So
I have no idea what
you've never seen Serial Mom?
This is a movie named Serial Mom?
Yes. It is a mom who happens to be a serial killer, and she kills people that wrong her family.
That's amazing.
But she is like hardcore wannabe, the Leave It to Beaver style mom, where she wants the household to be perfect. She always is dressed in that like kind of dress, the real cliche 50s mom dress and haircut. She wears that the whole time, but she has like very strict rules in the house. There's no gum allowed in the house. Every rule has to be followed to a T. But when her family's not looking, she goes from like prank calling a neighbor just to drive her crazy, to running people over, stabbing them, setting them on fire. And it's a super dark comedy. Where the opening scroll actually tells you it's based on a true story. It's not. That's part of the joke. The whole movie, because like the town applauds Serial Mom, and she like has to go to trial and everything at one point. Don't worry, that's not a spoiler. You see it in the trailers. It is one of the darkest comedies, and it's from John Waters, and it's one of my personal favorites of his.
The guy that did Hairspray and Crybaby.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
Kathleen Turner plays Serial Mom, or Beverly, and she is just hilarious in this movie. It's so funny. You can tell every scene she's in, and she's in like almost every scene, she was having the time of her life playing this character. And she has said in interviews it's one of her favorite roles she ever did. but she's just so funny to watch. And the fact that she just like at any point when someone threatens her, or I say threatens, wrongs her family, and that goes to the point of just being like a teacher giving her son a bad grade.
That sounds like such a fun movie.
It's fucking hilarious. I love that movie and I love that character. So my number 10 is Beverly Sutphin.
Okay. I like where this is going. I have literally never even heard of this movie.
I am so sad you haven't, and I hope you watch it, Jake, because it is fantastic.
I'm gonna get it right after this. It sounds like up my alley. I love those kinds of movies. My number 10 is a much more well-known film that I'm sure that will not surprise anybody. Although this is the one that I think is the newest possible mom, the one that may or may not barely count as a mom. Mine is Marge Gunderson in Fargo. Because she is...
I mean, she's pregnant.
She's pregnant, and I'm not taking any stances. I'm just saying that I feel like the pregnancy of her character in that film is not just like a funny quirk that it often is in film, where it's like either a pregnant woman is like a ticking time bomb that's going to give birth during the climax of the movie, or she's just like, I don't know, she's generally treated in a very specific stereotypical kind of way. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Fargo doesn't do that. Fargo is much more, she's just a normal lady who is, as pregnant women do, making it work. Like it doesn't slow her down. It doesn't make her any worse at her job. And it's a really great contrast to the very, obviously she's a detective, a cop who's trying to solve this homicide that happens. And police are generally a very male-centric profession. And I would say that these guy deciding to have his wife kidnapped and all these people getting murdered is pretty kind of a masculine situation. So for her to be very maternal in that, just rolling in, very competent at her job, very smart and easy to like, she knows what she's doing. It's just such a fun contrast where she's so nice. She's from Minnesota. She's just the nicest lady. And she's pregnant, and so it's very like disarming, and you don't really expect a lot from her, but she's just razor sharp and extremely good at her job. So you may say she's not yet a mother because she hasn't given birth yet. I think that if you've ever known a pregnant woman, they start changing everything about their lives as soon as they try to have baby, or as soon as they are pregnant with the baby. They go into like mother mode. And so I think that she's definitely a mother at that point. So yeah. And she's just a fantastic character. And I think it's one of the most like realistic representations of a pregnant woman. And I think it adds more to her character. It's not just like her being pregnant adds so much more to a character than just like a woman cop or anybody else. I think it's pivotal to that character, and so I love it so much.
Yeah, Frances McDormand does a really good job when she's under the script writing and direction of her husband. But when she ventures on her own, not a fan.
Yeah, I hear you.
Looking at you,
I can't think of
man. God, that
I can't think of anything in the last 10, 15 years of hers that I like.
Right. Yeah. It's funny you bring Fargo up, because when I was trying to pull all the movies of these moms that which first off, this might sound bad. Did you have a hard time remembering mom characters in movies?
I did. I was like, this will be easy. There's so many moms in movies. And then, I had kind of a hard time forming the ones that stand out, or the ones that are really central to the character. There's a lot of like background moms. I certainly did.
Which I felt bad, but then after I had like my list pretty much like, okay, I feel good. All of a sudden I started thinking like, oh shit, there's that mom. Oh shit, how did I not think of her? I had several of those, and I had to do like a big old just redo, essentially.
I think that there are so much. It's just it's hard to identify each individual one in your mind.
Well, it was almost because like, and I realized this when we did our dad episode and the mom episode. Parental figures are rarely a central character. They are always side characters that are only in the movie for a very short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, with the dads, and then especially with the mom episode, it threw me off. I was like,
yeah,
because I've known all these characters, and I know there's probably 100 that we both missed.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad because I know there's probably a bunch of them that I'm like, fuck, she should have been on my list. But that's...
Would you say that we took them for granted, as you often do with moms?
I kind of feel like I did.
Yeah, it happens.
I kind of feel like I did.
We're sorry, moms.
Sorry, Mom. Love you. All right. Number 9. All right. So my number 9 is the first mom of... I have a theme on my list, and it is mothers going to great lengths to protect their children. So the very just there is no second thought on it. They know what they have to do to survive, to keep their kids safe and alive. And these moms, pretty much all of the moms on my list are this way. And I was like, okay. I wonder what that says about me. It's probably because my mom has that very, like, she always wants just the absolute best. Like, the children come first. This is how it is. Mm-hmm. And apparently it rubbed off on me with what I look for in a mom character in a movie.
Yeah, it's not a bad trait to have.
Right. So my number
Unless
9...
you're a serial killer like the last movie.
She's really the only, like, funny one that's on my list. They just get more serious as it goes down. Okay. My number 9, first off, I love this movie. I remember watching it when I was fairly young. And I've always been a fan of Jodie Foster, but this movie, although not widely enjoyed by the majority of audiences, I really like this movie. And I think she plays this mom who's like recently divorced. Her husband just left her for a younger woman. She's left with her child who's like a 12-year-old. They move into this new house, which is already uncomfortable because she's forced out of her home. And the night they move in, their home is getting robbed. So my number 9 is Meg Altman from the movie Panic Room. Mm-hmm. I love her in this movie because of how intense she is throughout the hour and a half, and most of it is spent in a room. But she also has to keep her daughter, who happens to have like severe allergy, like she's asthmatic. And so she's trying to keep her daughter calm so she doesn't have an attack. They're trapped in this panic room. They've got 3 armed guys robbing the house. And it's a great movie. It's a great David Fincher movie. I think it's an underrated movie.
Yeah.
I love Panic Room. I really do.
The reason I'm giggling over here.
Tell me she's on your list.
She's not only on my list, literally at number 9.
Yes!
I have Jodie Foster as Meg Altman in Panic Room.
Yes!
I wrote down underrated David Fincher thriller. I love this movie. Word for word, everything you're saying is what I said for this movie.
It's amazing. Dude, this is like, 3 episodes in a row that we've had, like, maybe not in a row because we just did 7 Samurai, but we have had crossovers several times. This is amazing.
Oh my God.
I'm so happy.
No, that's all true. And I'm going to just jump in because I have the same thoughts. I think that she's such a good mom. Her daughter, because they're recently divorced, Kristen Stewart, her daughter, is kind of distant, emotionally distant, and kind of rebellious against that, argumentative with her mom. But I think because they go through this stressful home invasion together, they're able to kind of rebond that maternal relationship and reset it. And so, yeah, I think she's a great mom because she's thrown in this extraordinary situation. She has no idea what to do when these dudes break into her house in the middle of the night. And she just has to figure it out and protect herself and
Yeah.
her daughter. And she does a good job overall.
She does a
I think
fantastic job.
it's very admirable.
I still think one of the most intense scenes is because it's the night that they moved in. They're not packed. Like the house is not.
They're still packed.
Yeah. And her cell phone is in the bedroom where the panic room is, but she's trapped in the panic room. She can't get to her cell phone, and the 3 home invaders are on the stairwell just outside the door. And the whole way the scene is just awesome. How the sound drops down. She's trying to get to her phone. It's so good. But I love, that's one of those great things where she knows what she has to do, and she just does it for the sake of, how do I get my kid out of this situation?
Yeah.
And it's just,
I'm picturing the scene you're talking about. And Fincher does such a good job of camera movements, even impossible camera movements also. Just there's a one shot where it goes all the way down and then through the kitchen and through a coffee pot and through a keyhole and stuff. But you get the lay of the land. You know where the bad guys are. You know where they are. You know how close they are. That sets up the tension so well in that movie. I love it.
I love that movie. I love that she's our shared number 9. It's so awesome. And verbatim.
Yeah. And you can tell that she doubts herself and her abilities.
Oh, yeah.
And she wants her ex-husband to save them. She's not really, I think, used to being on her own yet. But he can't and doesn't. And I love how she just kind of rises to the occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So good. So good.
Well, in that case, I guess, what's your number 8?
I guess we're moving on to 8. That's so funny. All right, Jake. My number 8, I have a feeling, is on your list as well. Or at least an honorable mention.
Okay.
But my number 8 is perhaps the most badass mom on my list. She is also the least affectionate. So she doesn't dote on her son or cry over him a whole lot, but she is protecting her son in the most extreme way I think a parent could, especially a mom, where she was literally going to war with the future.
Yes.
So my number 8 is Sarah Connor from T2.
Naturally. She is definitely on my list. Not at 8.
But she's on the list.
Close.
That is awesome. She is just, I won't say too much because if she's on your list too, we'll get more out of her. But what a badass. And she is.
Did you want to put her higher just because she is such a iconic mom?
Yes. My initial reaction was to have her very high, but the other moms that I ranked higher than her, they hit on a very deep emotional scale, so they kind of edged her out. But her being at number 8 does not take away anything from her. Sarah Connor is incredible. I think I originally had her at number 4. So, yeah, she's just, she goes to war with the fucking future. How much?
Yeah, she's got a lot on her plate. I mean, I think that I was the same way. I had her up very high, and then I started comparing her to the other moms. I was like, honestly, these other characters are better moms, and I have to put them higher.
She's still when she has to be a mom, she's a great mom.
Yeah.
But she kind of has to go through an extreme situation to get to that point to be able to just be a mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I have her actually very close to number 8, so we're kind of on the same page again.
Oh my God.
But at number 8, I have someone that... Okay, full disclosure, I had another character at number 8, and I really wanted to have them there. But the more I thought about them, I was like, And also my wife's influenced it a little bit. She was like, she's really not a good mom. And I was like, well, but I like her. And then she was like, well, but no. And so we had a debate internally in our house about my list, and I ended up losing that debate. She convinced me that I should drop that character. So I replaced her with another kind of similar character. So same level of motherness, I felt like.
Okay.
So at number 8, I chose kind of the most dodgy on the good mom scale, I feel like, but she makes up for it in the overall character and the overall stakes of her character and her motherhood. So at number 8, I have Annie Graham from Hereditary, played by Toni Collette. She is not the best mom, I understand.
She's kind of a terrible mom.
She's a terrible mom, but there's a big but. She, is grieving from her mom. That's like a small piece. The major piece is that the movie is literally about passing things on to your children, Hereditary. And so she is trying to be a mom to her kids to the best of her abilities, while also dealing with the trauma and shit that she has stored up from being a kid that her mom has passed on to her. And some of it is emotional, some of it is relational, some of it is demonic and pagan and all this other stuff. It's overall pretty bad to pass these things down to your children and have them be the firstborn sacrifice to this weird, dark deity. But the point is, I feel like she tries pretty sincerely, and she goes through losing her mom, who she had a complicated relationship with, but ultimately did love. And then, spoiler alert for Hereditary, if you've never seen a movie from 2018, her goes through the worst possible thing she or her as a mother or her whole family could have experienced, losing a child. Mm-hmm. That whole business, I feel like, gives her a lot of leeway for being a little bit crazy or not as idealistic as other moms would be, because it's hard being a mom, and you don't always do the best or make the best decisions, but I do think that she tries. And so as a mom in the worst possible situation where you have a literal secret cult of people trying to capture, or I don't even know, recruit your
family
child
and children as sacrifices, and
trying to steal your child and use them as a vessel to fill them up with a demonic creature. That is basically the premise of Hereditary. In that situation, how good of a mom can you be?
I'm curious. So you say you lost the debate to Christy. Yes. And you replace the character that Christy convinced you is like, nah, she should not be on my list. And then Christy was on board with Hereditary. Yes. So who was this other character?
The mom from Hereditary, I was convinced, and I ultimately decided, because it is my list, I ultimately decided that, yes, my wife is right. The mom from Hereditary is overall a better mom than Kate McAllister, the mom from Home Alone.
Oh, yeah, she has a point.
I wanted to have her because I do feel like she overall redeems herself. She fucks up, she fucks up a couple times. She fucks up when she is kind of mean to her kid and not understanding, and he's getting bullied by all the family members, and she's not very understanding of him. That they have this big fight, and that's the last thing that they say before she forgets about him and leaves him home alone.
She forgets her son.
Well, she flies to France. That's pretty bad. I completely agree. That's pretty bad. But I felt like she once she realizes, she drops everything, she leaves everybody, she does everything in her power to get home as quickly as possible. She goes through discomfort, she goes through everything, she beats herself up, she ultimately gets home, she apologizes to him. I felt that kind of redeemed him. And then Christy made a very good point, which was, yeah, I would understand that if, you went on to like actually show that you were a good mother at any point, but didn't they make Home Alone 2 where she loses him again? And I was like, fuck, she does do that. She loses him again.
She does
And so
it
at that
twice in
point,
a
I was like,
row. Um,
at that point, I realized I couldn't really have her on my list.
See, you say she doesn't quite understand her son at the beginning of the first one. I actually would not put her on the list because to me, it's not that she doesn't understand Kevin or his side, but Kevin's mom and dad kind of allow the family to bully Kevin, including his uncle. And I keep thinking in my head, man, if my family talked to my daughter the way that his family talks to him, I would have been like, so you can get the fuck out of my house. Like,
yeah. Look what you did, you little jerk.
Yeah. Now, it's funny when I told a few people, like, this was the episode we were going to record, unanimously people said, oh, so you're not going to have Mrs. McAllister because she's a terrible mom. I went, no, not Mrs. McAllister.
Well, officially, I did not have her on my list, so
yeah, that's probably good. Like, entertaining character, yes, but she's a bad mom.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I think that she apologizes. Every mom has made a huge mistake.
100%.
A lot of people have forgotten their kids' places. It happens. Generally, you don't fly all the way to France before you remember, but it happens. I do feel like the dad is way worse.
Oh, the dad is. That's why I said the parents. Like,
yeah,
both McAllister parents.
I'll just stay in France. He's fine at home.
We paid all this money. Fuck the kid. And he also, like, who runs through an airport and leaves their child behind? Like,
yeah.
You throw the kid on your shoulder. He weighs what, 60 pounds tops? You can carry him.
Yeah. I get there's a lot of people in your group, but there's not a lot of people in your immediate family. It's you, your wife, and Kevin and Buzz.
Yeah. And I've been in very crowded areas with my daughter, airport included. As a parent, you hold on to your fucking kid. Like, like you run into so many people because your eyes are on your child the whole time.
Yeah. You shouldn't really delegate to an older daughter to count your heads and assume that he's going to be there.
You don't want to put that much trust in a teenager. But moving on.
Number 7.
Hereditary. That's so funny to me.
It's the weirdest one on my list.
Fair enough. Well, I feel like all this laughter and lighthearted conversation is about to come to a crashing end because my number 7 is not funny at all. There's nothing funny about the movie, the situation, nothing. In fact, it's super heartbreaking. In fact, this is one of those movies. I
immediately know what movie you're talking about.
What?
I immediately know what movie you're talking about.
This is one of those movies where, like, my brother has told me he will never watch this movie again because it's just too traumatizing. It's a bit too much. And although I'm not a big fan of the lead actress, I think she is absolutely amazing in this movie.
It's Angelina Jolie.
No. No, it is not.
Everything you said sounded like Changeling to me.
No, it was not Changeling. That movie is heartbreaking, though.
Yeah.
No, my number 7 is Ma from the movie Room with Brie Larson.
Yeah.
Some people, I think, might argue, like, why would you have her on your list? Like, horrible situation. And then the last half, like, she's very distant from her son and all that. Hey.
Yeah.
When you have been kidnapped and held captive in a tiny storage unit in a backyard with a 5-year-old son, but you have been held captive for 7 years.
Right. A son that you have been raped to have and had him there.
Yes.
It's pretty dark.
And the only hope you have is just making sure you can keep the situation as understanding or as lighthearted as possible for your child. I think what she decides and ultimately has to do to keep her child's like his mentality intact.
Mm-hmm.
She sacrifices so much for that, for his innocence. That is crazy motherly to me.
Yeah. To give him even the remote semblance of a childhood
Yeah,
in that room is a powerful
it's
thing.
powerful. And as the movie progresses, I don't want to say too much, although the cover of the Blu-ray gives away like everything, which kind of bums me out, by the way. So I'm like,
Yeah.
why would you give that away? But um, even after the events have like transpired and she is distant and she does react to her trauma in such severe ways, through all of it, I think the love her son has for her and the fact that she still comes back to him, she goes to get, you know, herself help just so that her
Mm-hmm.
son, she can still maintain a relationship with her son and also maintain his innocence so that he doesn't worry about, you know, what's going on with mom. She wants
Yeah.
him to prosper. I just think the movie is incredible. The book was amazing. And Brie Larson, it's her best work.
Yeah. Oh, agreed for sure.
And yeah, I could not have her on my list. This
Mm-hmm.
character is just so honest and just all the how she deals with trauma, and I found that very endearing that she doesn't
Mm-hmm.
like hide away from it. She just lets the she she really pours out her healing process, and it's hard to watch, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the honesty and the sincerity of it is so important. That's why she had to be on my list.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing to need to take care of yourself so that you can take care of your kid.
Yeah,
That's it's not an easy thing to do, but it's also important. If you want them to have the best life possible, you need to get all of your stuff in order, like
right.
organized in
And
order
and I
to
think that's
not
kind of
pass it on to them.
misconception from a lot of the outside perspectives, um, where like you don't want a parent to be selfish because they have to take care of something, but it's kind of factual that you are not as effective as you need to be or want to be until you correct or at least work on stuff
Mm-hmm.
in your own life. So she's just such an awesome character to me. Heartbreaking, but awesome
Yeah,
character. She kind
yeah,
of
I
it reminded me of your oh man, I forget the name of his character, but the dad from Life is Beautiful. I know he was on
right.
your dad's list. This was kind of my version of that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Okay, so at number 7, very close to your number 8, I have Sarah Connor from Terminator 2
Oh, wow,
Judgment
she
Day.
was very close.
So close. Like so close, I was like, do I swap it to have double matching ones? But I didn't. Kept it honest.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, the only reason, like I said, that she's not higher is because she gets a little crazy and overwhelmed by the whole AI apocalypse thing that is the premise of the movie. I feel like she loses sight of the fact that she is supposed to be raising this child.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's a child who's going to grow up to save humanity, but he still has to be a kid first.
Still a kid.
And he has no concept of the gravity of the situation that is freaking her out. He can't possibly be aware of it. So all he knows is my mom is a little crazy, and then my mom is sent to a psychiatric hospital and she's not around anymore. And so I feel like that's a big, significant failure on her part, and for her to not be there for him to help him through that. And so that's why she's a little bit lower. But fortunately, they are reconnected through the movie, and he gets to see firsthand the account of why she is the way that she is and why she believes about this future apocalypse so completely. So I think that helps them reconcile with her, and start to appreciate
100%,
the lengths that she'll go to protect him. like every mom would, but it's an extra level when saving him means saving the whole world at the same time. So I think that she gets it together through T2, and she's certainly iconic, one of the most iconic moms. But I think she has to stop worrying so much about the future that's impending and
Yeah,
the fate that they have.
I think the scene that really like clicks in her, and to me, it's like her redeeming scene because it's kind of ironic. Is when she goes to the house of the scientist to kill him, and his
Yeah.
daughter like runs out to save her dad. And as Sarah's shooting up the whole house, she's like, she has to stop and kind of has that like, oh my god, children, and you kind of like that's where she like, I think is kind of slapped with a little bit of other reality of like, yeah, you have a son, like a child,
Right.
so
You're fighting the future so hard that you forget about the present, where people they don't know what's going to happen. They're just living their lives. They have kids. They're all this stuff.
and although she does not really get affectionate with John throughout the movie for the most part, but you can see her maternal skills, or like just that I have to protect my son, really kicking in, especially with the final showdown around the molten metal. So she's a badass too. I mean, it's Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
She's like, she's this human that takes on futuristic robots who are hell-bent on murdering mankind. Like,
yeah, they're literally assassin robots developed for that purpose alone.
She's such a badass. My number 6 is a mom from a movie I have mentioned a handful of times. I don't think many people have watched it yet, and that's a crime. More people need to go and watch this movie. But the mom is so endearing on this, for the fact that she goes through such emotional hardship to make sure her son has a childhood, or at least some kind of childhood that he can still have. So my mom is Linda. She's the mom from the movie The Cure, which I have talked about a couple times. If you haven't heard me talk about it, where the hell have you been?
It was on your Tearjerk episode, I think.
Yes, yeah. So The Cure is about a young boy who has AIDS, and he is befriended by kind of a neglected neighbor kid who is also a bit of a bully, but they become friends. And the whole movie is these two kids trying to find the cure for AIDS. But the mom, Linda, is such a powerful character. She's not in the movie very much, but the scenes that she is in are some of the most memorable because of the environment she creates for her son, or ensures is around her son, that he has a childhood despite his ailment. And I just think that it's such a motherly thing to do. And she really works hard to not show the emotional turmoil that she is going through as a mom, knowing that her son will not have a full life. You just never know when the last day is going to be. As a parent, I personally can't like even fathom that thought process, but there's millions of parents that have to. And I think this character does such a great job of embodying all those parents. And she shows her vulnerabilities around her son sometimes. And there's a scene at a dinner table where it's him and his friend, and the mom has to leave because she's crying. And her son is just like, she has bad days sometimes. And like, it's such a simple line, but every time I see that scene, it's just one of those where you're like, oh, there go the feels. Oh God.
Yeah.
But she's a spectacular mom in this movie. And the way that she kind of becomes a surrogate mom for the neighbor kid who has become a friend of her son's, and she defends him. She like lets the maternal instincts kick in for him. And it's so incredible. People, please watch this movie. Go find it. It's hard to find, but if you find it, it's so good.
Yeah, those kind of scenes that you mentioned, like around the dinner table, where those things connect with me because I think everybody, when you're a kid, you think of a mom as like this superhero
Yeah.
person that can do everything, is untouchable, takes care of everything, just kind of coordinates and handles everything just without complaining. But it's easy to forget then that moms are normal people too, who are going through shit and trying to figure stuff out and having hard times and dealing with extraordinarily tragic and situations where it's just emotionally draining
Yeah.
overall. That's a very hard thing to deal with. So to break every once in a while is humanizing more than it's a flaw in any way.
Yeah, she's such a wonderful character to watch. Just how she goes through the whole film. She could not. I had to have her. I was like, I did not want to
Yeah.
watch the movie again. So close to the last time we had watched it, but it was like
Yeah.
the things I do for our show. All right.
It's true. Gotta get it done. I appreciate you. So my number 6 is possible. I'll just say my number 6 is Dr. Louise Banks from Arrival. I will say this is the most spoilery
Like,
character on my list.
crazy spoiler. Oh my
So if you haven't seen Arrival, first, what are you doing with your life? It's incredible.
True.
Go watch it. But before that, skip ahead a couple of minutes because I'm going to get into spoilers for Arrival from 2016.
Yeah.
The way that it uses motherhood stereotypes and especially audiences' assumptions about them in that character is brilliant to me. So here's the spoilers around Arrival. The opening of the movie is Amy Adams' character at the bedside of her dying teenage daughter. Then we jump to her teaching language classes at some school, and you presume as the audience that she is still haunted by that past trauma. That's the assumption that the movie tricks you into making because the movie is brilliantly done. The reveal is that she hasn't had a baby yet. Her child will die in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And she learns through the course of the movie and also she sees that tragedy. She sees how much it hurts and breaks her, but she also sees all the wonderful times, all of the experiences she has with her daughter, and all of the things that, like, all of those things in the future kind of help inform her present. It's a very complicated and interesting movie. Knowing all those things, knowing that her daughter will die at a young age, she still chooses to become a mother because of the meaning that it has, the fulfillment that it brings, and all of that stuff. She chooses to go into that knowing that's going to end tragically, just to have that time in between. And I think that's really beautiful and powerful. My wife has said recently that if she had to give birth every single year on our child's birthday, like go through the whole birth process, labor, contractions, all of the pain, all of everything. If she had to do that every single year for the rest of his life, she would do it because it is so fulfilling and so incredible being his mom. And so that's kind of what I relate to her in Arrival, that even though you only have a short time, you have 13, 14, 15 years with this person, that's more than enough because it's so incredible. The whole process is so incredible that you're willing to go through that. So I think that's beautiful, and I think that she's really cool for that. I also think that I'm not going to get into the whole like time thing about Arrival because it's very complicated. We don't have a lot of time to go into it. But the way that the movie does it, I think kind of visually depicts another thing, which is mothers have this weird intuition about them that they kind of know things are going to happen or whatever. And it's kind of this incredible mother's intuition thing that happens. I think that Arrival is kind of that, where she can see time in a different way, so she knows things from the future and that she can use that to inform her present and past and stuff. So I think that's kind of a cool mother nod in a way, kind of.
I like it. Oh, that movie's so fucking good. Oh. Dude, that's one of those movies. I don't care how many times I've watched it. Every time I watch it, when the ending comes up, I just sit in awe. Every time.
Yeah.
You just like you can't help it. You just sit there, just damn.
Yeah. It had been a minute since I'd seen it. I was like, I know it's a good movie, but the more as soon as it starts, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a great movie. Like I have kind of forgot how good this movie is.
I still say it's one of the most intelligent movies I have ever seen. Just period. It's up there. It's ridiculous.
It's brilliant.
And she is fantastic. But I mean, it's Amy Adams. I love Amy Adams.
Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah, her when you get like the snippets and stuff of motherhood in that movie, I imagine that character, her character, is exactly the kind of mom you would expect. Not necessarily that character, but Amy Adams as a person, to be like you get those smiles and the chasing your child around and stuff. It's beautiful. But yeah, that motherhood intuition and the sacrifice and I guess just the willingness to go through extreme situations or tragic situations, knowing that at least there's fulfillment at some point in there. Yeah, it's beautiful. I like your pick.
Thank you.
I'm glad you have that one rated higher than your Hereditary pick. I feel like in
the top 5, they are all very wholesome.
I feel like I'm going to troll you on that one for a little while. But.
That was 6. That one's kind of a little bit more out there. The rest of them are perfectly what you would expect from a top 10 mom episode.
All right. My number 5 is also a mom from one of my top 10 movies that make me cry. My number 5 is Sylvia Davies from Finding Neverland.
Okay, yeah.
She's another mom where she just, her family, her children are at the forefront of everything, and she makes sure her children understand childhood, which is my favorite thing that she focuses on. She's still a mom. The kids still have their chores. She's still on them to get their shit done and taken care of. But at the end of the day, she is so determined that her children know what having a childhood is and the importance of playing and just having fun, despite what's going on around them. I think that's so important. And I think it's something that's kind of been lost these days. Kids need to be kids. It's just, that's it. This period. Kids need to be kids. And us as adults need to let children be children. And
play is not frivolous nonsense. It's very important for their development.
It's so important to like the building blocks of being a person, of just being able to survive in the world. You develop your social skills, you develop everything, confidence in yourself, speech, yada, yada. It's just everything about just playing has such a huge impact, and her character understands that to a whole, despite, going through an illness and stuff, or having a mom, and her mom, who comes across as a total, overbearing mother for the majority of the film, but you get it because it's a mom who's so desperate to keep her child around. And it's just, the movie as a whole is beautiful, but Sylvia Davies, I resonate and connect with that principle of my children will be children. And it's just, it's awesome.
I completely agree. I think that her protection of that is kind of rare, like you were saying, and very important. And I think that obviously inspiring because it inspired
Right.
him to make
Kind of
the
inspired
Peter
Peter
Pan
Pan.
story. Yeah. So that's obviously very child centric and staying a child forever. I think there's huge overlap there.
Oh yeah.
All right, my number 5 is the great, our favorite, Sandra Bullock as Leanne. I forget her name. Tui
Chewie.
in
Yeah.
the Blind Side.
Yeah.
She is just obviously everybody praises her for this role. It's great.
As you should.
And you get the idea that Leanne is just the kind of woman would be a mom to anybody.
Mhm.
Like, and she is very quick to do the right thing and adopt a kid who obviously needs a lot of help, may not be alive without her help. And so her willingness to just put it all out there and kind of just take in Michael Orr to like help him out, get him off the street, and just accept him completely in the family. Well, not being like, she's loving and kind and everything, but she also like kind of gets everybody in line. Like she's like, "Hey kids, this is your brother now." And "Hey husband, this is what we're doing. We're adopting this kid." And so she's kind of the boss of the family, which I like. And she just completely makes him feel safe, makes Michael feel safe, which I think is something that she realizes or sees in him that he needs. He's never had that mom to take care of him. He's always just kind of bounced around and that's a void in his life that he's needed. And so she's able to see that this kid who's way bigger than her still needs to feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally and all that stuff. And so she gives him that, makes him feel at home, that you're not going to get kicked out. Like, this is your place. You can just settle in and relax finally.
Right.
After all this time. And so, and she's able to kind of explain things in a way that he understands them when she explains how football works and all this stuff and what his job is, how she needs to protect this quarterback, how he needs to protect this quarterback. He gets it in a way that I think that again, she's able to kind of understand where he's coming from and what resonates with him, what's important to him. And so she's able to tell him what to do. And that leads him to become very successful, to be able to join the NFL and become his own person, grow up, and all the stuff a mother's trying to do, help their child grow up and be successful. So she steps into a place that isn't really her place, but she does it because she knows she needs to, and it's the right thing to do. And I think it's very admirable. So Leanne, and my number 5, Blindside.
Well, I don't want to add too much because she's on my list, but not yet.
Okay.
That's like 3 or 4 crossovers now, Jake.
Yeah, pretty solid.
But I agree with everything you said, and I will elaborate on everything you said when she pops up later.
Okay, more to come.
It's a great pick, though, Jake. It's a great pick.
Thank you.
All right, my number 4. I think if you know me, you know she was coming up. I had the dad on my favorite dads list. If I'm going to have him on my dad's list, there is not a chance in hell I'm not going to have Martha Kent on my top moms list, especially Diane Lane's Martha Kent from the Snyderverse.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Superman's mom, folks. Martha Kent is one of just the character from the comics, all the different shows that she's been on, but especially in the Snyderverse. Like, Martha Kent is so important to the character of Superman and just what his principles are. Like, her and Jonathan Kent's whole backstory of not ever being able to have children. One literally falls into their backyard. But the way that Martha has just taken it upon herself, like, the maternal instincts kicked in, and she raised Clark as a normal child who just happened to have all of this, all these abilities. My favorite scene with her is always in Man of Steel, and it's the flashback scene when Clark is in school freaking out because his powers are just overwhelming and he's hiding in the closet. And she does that whole thing where she starts telling him, she coaches him on how to just, deep breaths, just focus on my voice, just learn how to just control it. And just that to me is like one of the most motherly things I think any mom has done, future moms will do. Every mom does this where they see their child wigging out and they are able to ground their children just with the sound of their voice. Martha Kent is so good. So good. Like she almost sets the example for moms. The only reason she's not higher is because the other ones do what she does, but in different ways. They just hit a little bit different. But Martha Kent is just, especially Diane Lane's. She has such a, I don't want to say vulnerability, but she's so gentle.
Yeah.
In what she says to Clark, even when he's like already established as Superman, because he still comes back to his mom for guidance when he's like really struggling with everything going on in the world. And I love that despite everything, despite his abilities, she flat out tells him, you know what, be their hero or don't. It's ultimately your life. Like if you need to go, go. And what a hard thing for a mom to say, to tell their son, like, if you have to leave this place, then leave this place.
Yeah, but it's such a perfect thing for a mom to say because she's ultimately putting him and his interests above the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Like, if the rest of the world is completely disintegrated because the villains win, that's fine. As long as you're happy and you find your place in the world, that's all I want for you.
Right. And it's just, she's an amazing character. And just every time I watch that the Snyderverse, when Martha Kent's on screen, I am like, I just lock in immediately. She almost reminds me of like my mom at times and all that. It's just, I love Martha Kent. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. The only reason she's not on my list is because I knew she would be on your list. It was when I felt safe leaving off, but I love her as well. And I love the teamwork between her and Jonathan and how they're so aligned in their parenting style, I guess, where they know they have an extraordinary child who with extreme abilities that is from another planet, but they're so aligned in their intention to teach him right from wrong, teach him all the best things, how to handle any situation. So when every situation, the most crazy situation comes up, he knows what to do. He knows right from wrong, and he can come back and seek advice from them, but he knows to trust them. They know what they're talking about.
And the Kents really instill a sense of like principle and possibly one of the most like strict moral compasses, I think, in a character.
Yeah, which is a tall thing to do for Superman, the Boy Scout, who has the strictest moral compass. It comes from them, and so it's their responsibility.
Yeah. So she was like, when I said at the start of this, my list will be fairly predictable, because I think everyone that knows me would know, like, oh, Superman's mom is definitely showing up on this list.
Yeah,
you were right.
True. I'm glad you didn't let me down. My number 4 is hold on. I think this is a true statement. I need to look back. I know for the top 5, it's true. Yeah. My number 4 is the only stepmom on my list. And so, but she's too perfect. So my number 4 is Maria Von Trapp from The Sound of Music.
I knew you were going to have Sound of Music on your list. I knew it.
The way that Julie Andrews plays Maria is so great and wholesome and sweet. And I think that is needed. She is exactly what is needed in this family when she comes to them as their she's just watching these kids,
Wow.
and the kids are like, so they've been raised by a pretty harsh father, but it's not entirely his fault because he's had to raise them all on his own, a lot of kids. And so he's kind of defaulted to what he knew best and what he had the highest chance of success in. And that was his military background.
And what's the environment that he's trying to raise his family in?
In a nice big house with Nazi Germany.
There it is.
Yes, it is during wartime in Austria, and the Third Reich is rising and all of that stuff. But he himself, he doesn't really know how to raise these kids. He's got a bunch of kids, and so he treats them like a unit and raises them with strict rules and whistles and guidelines. And so they obviously are just kind of falling in line because they don't really know any better. So he cares about them and wants the best for them, but doesn't really know how to do all of this. So he's doing what he does best, and it will more or less work. He's keeping them out of trouble. He's helping them follow the rules and all that stuff, but it's not ideal. And I think when Maria comes in, she is very gentle, very maternal, very loving, very kind to them. And she's like, you can't just treat kids like it's respond to whistles like it's a working in a factory or something. And so she kind of blows everything up. But once he kind of lets her do her thing, you see the kids really blossom. They really are able to come out of their shell and expand and grow and all this stuff. So it's really fun to see them with a mother figure who cares about them and loves them and is gentle and everything that a mother should be. She kind of complements the dad, I guess, in that sense. And so when they come together as one big family to run away through the Alps from the Nazis and all stuff and sing and stuff, it is great. But I think that, she's just such a very positive impact on the children, and he sees that as the dad as not just, oh, she's great for the kids, but then obviously her becoming a wife for him as well is all really fun. So I love that Sound of Music. I think that Maria von Trapp is one of the best mothers on film.
Yeah, I knew you were going to have that. I knew she would show up at some point on your list. I wasn't sure if she'd be this high. And I was like, he'll probably do it. One, because he genuinely loves that movie. And two, it's been a while since he has given me some hell for not being the biggest fan of that movie. And
it's true.
I feel a little set up.
It's unfortunate that you don't like it. I know that you like other musicals. I just don't know why you don't like this.
I just never really connected to it. I don't know. I just never thought it was.
How do you solve a problem like Maria? It's a great story. I'm not going to convince you. If you don't like it, you don't like it. For me, just her whole nature and her gentleness is just the ideal. So it is for each their own.
Fair enough. Hey, I love Julie Andrews, especially when she's Mary Poppins, which is like the greatest family movie of all time. My personal favorite.
Sure.
But I couldn't consider Mary Poppins like a motherly figure because they have a mom. She's not on my list. I was just saying.
She's not a great mom.
She's not a great mom. But I was like, in all the prep work that I do, the earliest prep work that I do is always see kind of like, who does like Screen Rant vote? And I usually disagree with the majority of their list. And she was off one, and I was like, fucking Jake's going to put her on his list. It's like, and he's going to be like, I'm sure he'll make a little shot at me, but that's all right.
I'll sometimes do that at the end after I feel like I have a good list, just to make sure I didn't forget anybody that was super obvious.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because so that happens sometimes. I'm like, oh shoot, I can't believe I forgot that person.
But Nice pick, Jake. Nice pick.
Thank you. I appreciate you
She does
respecting
help
it, even
save the
though you
children
don't
from
like it.
being Hitler Youth, so I'll give
That's
her.
good.
You know what? That's good. Hey, speaking of Hitler Youth,
I knew it was coming up.
yeah, my number 3. Damn. Honestly, like I'm not even gonna give a big like intro to her. My number 3 is Rosie from Jojo Rabbit. This is Scarlett Johansson's greatest role, like
by
far, and probably it's definitely her most powerful role. It's her most entertaining role, an important role. Just everything about Rosie is so emotionally impactful. Just what she is doing while trying to maintain certain, I guess, illusions or perceptions. But raising a Hitler Youth in Nazi Germany while hiding a Jewish girl is just bonkers.
Yeah.
But the way that she mothers JoJo to me is just like, it's so important how she handles the situation. And I wondered if some people would argue like, well, she has a scene where she talks about she doesn't trust JoJo in knowing that Elsa is at the house. But it's because she understands her son has been brainwashed. It's not that she doesn't trust her son as a person. She doesn't trust the brainwashing. Because he's so young, he's so little.
Right.
And but what she's willing to go through to ensure, and she kind of like subliminally like persuades JoJo, which is why I think his reaction to Elsa is not as severe. I think it has a lot to do with just the little subtleties that his mom does, when they see the bodies hanging in the square and he asks, what they died for. And she tells him, well, they were doing what they could. It's little things like that she does to him. Or when he's so like determined to have his dad back and she does the like where she wipes the soot on her face and does the whole come dance with your parents scene. Every scene she is in is just perfect. She is perfect in this movie, and I don't want to say too much, but oh my god.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. She's definitely on my list as well.
It had been a minute since I watched JoJo, and when it ended again, I was just like, few things go through my head. It went through my head. One is like, well, of course she's on my list because holy crap. But what an important film Jojo Rabbit, I feel, is. Like, holy shit, more people need to be watching this movie. Just watch it. You'll understand it. I hope you understand it. But then I also thought, which was nowhere near as like on the emotional scale, but more in just general, like, why can't Taika Waititi make more movies like this? Like, god damn it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought as well. That I'm becoming less and less of a Taika Waititi fan over time.
Right.
But this movie will make you fall in love with it. It just completely rips your guts out in a good way.
In a
like
great
it's a fantastic
way.
movie.
So good. But yeah, Rosie, JoJo's mom is just, she's amazing. And I had a feeling that I was going to have her on my list. She was one of the first names that I jotted down. Then I was like, but, her screen time she's not in every scene of the movie. And then I rewatched it, and it was like 2 scenes in, I was just, fuck, she's going to be really high on my list. Like, I am so connected to her character.
Yeah. I completely agree.
So Rosie is my number 3.
Okay. Yeah, I have her for sure. My number 3, though, is similar to you with Martha Kent. You had Jonathan is on one of your favorite dads. I had my number 3 husband as
Yeah,
one
you
of my
did.
favorite dads as well. I have to have Evelyn Abbott from A Quiet Place, Part 1 and 2, played by Emily Blunt. She's my number 3 for sure. For a lot of the great reasons, I love Lee Abbott, played by John Krasinski, at the top of my top 10 dads. She is all of the same reasons. She's an incredible mother. She's a great complement to the two, a lot like we were talking about for Man of Steel and the Snyderverse. She is just, they're aligned in their parenting of these kids, and she is in an extremely unique situation as well, where not only is she a mother of these children in a monster alien invasion, but she has gone through the worst possible experience ever. Spoiler if you haven't seen the first 5 minutes of A Quiet Place. She's had her youngest child killed, snatched right in front of her face, while also having her 2 other children with her. And then also being pregnant with their 4th child. That is crazy. So for her to go through this whole, similar to Fargo, like she's a pregnant woman in this situation, just has to make it work. But she has these other kids who she's trying to teach about the world, teach how to survive in case her and her husband don't make it. She's trying to make a home, trying to make a place that's safe for them, make sure they have food, make sure they have clothes, all this stuff, make sure it's safe and all the stuff that you want. And she does such an incredible job at all of that, on top of being pregnant, on top of giving birth during
a monster
attack where they're right down the hall and she can't make any noise whatsoever. It's just superhuman what she's able to do, which I know mothers all around the world have had to do something crazy like that and succeeded at it. So it's just a great example of it. So yeah, Evelyn Abbott, she's everything you would want in a mother character, and the way that she pulls it all together and takes the time to listen and understand each of her different children and their needs and make sure they're fulfilled. She's great. I love her.
Well, this will be an easy segue because Evelyn Abbott is my number 2.
Perfect.
I agree with everything you said. She just blows me away. And Emily Blunt, I don't think gets enough credit for how she plays this character between the first one, especially in the second one. The situation is impossible and horrible, but her determination of protecting her children, keeping them alive, is just so insane to me. Of just at no point, she's trying to grieve. She is trying to go through all these incredible emotions, but she literally can't afford to break down.
Right.
It just the way that she plays, especially in the second one. Like, she's amazing in the first movie, but the second one I think is the one where all of her really comes, to shine. And she's so intense and she's so loving despite the situation they are in. And it's just I was like, I didn't have Krasinski on my dad's list. He was an honorable mention, but I was like, Evelyn is on my list. And rewatching him again, I was just like, especially the second one, I was just blown away by Emily Blunt. And I remember being blown away first few times I watched him. Excuse me. But she's just, I love her tenacity and her understanding of what has to happen. So she's going to do it. And there is no question. There is no hesitation on her part. She knows full well the stakes. And it's like the impossible stakes that are stacked up against her are only giving her more strength. She is almost superhuman just in the fact that she's able to hold her family together. It's unreal. I was like, she was one of those names that was like farther down the list, And then I rewatched it and was like, no, 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 no. Evelyn's way up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Emily Blunt deserves way more credit than I think she's been given for this role.
Yeah. I completely agree. She's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Okay. My number 2 then. It should come as no surprise. I talk about this movie all the time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Has to be Mama, played by Sally Field in Forrest Gump. Mama is like, she has defined Forrest's entire perception of the world.
Yep.
Everything that he knows, everything he believes, that she's the source of truth. He always tells somebody, well, Mama said this, and that has to be true. So everything he experiences is through the lens of what Mama has said about it. And I think that says a lot about her and his trust in her, Forrest's trust in her, especially when it comes to things like his slowness or disabilities or whatever, that she has told him, you're no different than anybody else. And so he goes through life believing that he's no different than anybody else, not letting anybody else convince him or talk down to him that he's different than them. And that, I think, is a big reason for all of his success. I do think we need to talk about the grunting elephant in the room, which is, yes, she does have sex with the principal of the school in order to get her son into normal school and not go to special needs classes. And Forrest obviously overhears the entire thing. It's very awkward overall. But as a mom, especially a single mom, you gotta do whatever you can to make the best life for your kid. And that comes with all kinds of sacrifices, so I can't totally judge it. I also think, if you think about it, the decision, that's one of the decisions that sparks that creates Forrest's entire incredible life. Mm-hmm. That if he didn't get into normal school with all these other kids, he wouldn't have met Jenny on the bus, and they wouldn't be like peas and carrots and eventually become a dad. That's the main flow of the movie. He wouldn't have gone to high school and gotten a football scholarship and gone to the army and gone to learn ping pong and all this stuff. So her mom having sex with that principal, it was the best thing that she could have done for her son, and pays off in the end, I'm going to say. So I think that her general demeanor and his relationship with her is everything. It speaks volumes, how much he loves her, how much he cares for her, how he comes back to take care of her, how he speaks about her after she's gone, all that stuff. She was an incredible mom to him specifically, and knowing what he needed and helping him succeed. He obviously was very successful, went around the world, met tons of people, went to the White House like 5 times.
A gajillionaire.
Yeah, he's got more money than God. He's crazy. So I would say she is, one of the champs as far as moms go.
I agree. She is not on my list because I knew she was on yours, and I felt that was okay. Much like you knew Martha Kent was going to be on mine. I will say I was convinced she was going to be your number one. So
it was a battle.
I'm very intrigued to see who edged out Mrs. Gump, because I was like, there is no way Jake has her any lower than number one. It's his favorite.
It was a
movie.
Battle.
It
went back and forth for sure.
No, Mrs. Gump, I agree. Everything he says, perfect. I think what makes her such a profound mother is literally the impact her way of raising Forrest actually continued to impact his life through adulthood.
Yeah.
I mean, the first words spoken in the movie is "Mama always said." It's just, everything she did. She had the deepest impact on her son's life, and I love that she never treated Forrest. She never victimized Forrest.
Yeah.
despite his disability, she never allowed him to hold that against himself. She never allowed the world to hold that against her son. And that is so admirable. I see, I have friends who have like special needs children, and they are Mrs. Gump, where it is just, nope.
Yeah.
The world will be damned if they look down at my kid. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's the right call.
It's the right call. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to be able to face that world and have that and stick to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all the respect. It's mind blowing to me in the most respectful way. Parenting it's a whole new different ball game, man. It's a whole different.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah, awesome pick, Jake. Awesome pick. I'm very curious to know who edged her out. I almost don't even care about my number one, but
I do. I want to know.
I said almost.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, my number one is Leanne Tui. I just think her character. I imagine meeting the real Leanne Tui would be one of the most intense, like, experiences of one's life. Just how intimidating of a woman, and I mean that in the best way.
Oh, for sure.
Because she is so staunch on her beliefs, and you are not going to move her when it comes to like the moral compass, and you're not going to change her mind on what is right and what is wrong. And it's just, I think that's so admirable. She has very strict boundaries with her family. She is very rigid in a lot of ways. But I also think scenes like the Thanksgiving scene and just the general little moments in the house, she is not near as rigid as I think the world would perceive her to be. I think she is actually very tender and very gentle. You can tell the whole family come first. Family is the absolute number one. And the way that she takes Michael under her wing and the way the whole family follows that example of, you can just tell like their upbringing is literally compassion.
Yeah.
Period. It's so beautiful. And Sandra Bullock is so amazing as this character. Everything about her, I was like, to me, this character, this mom is all the other moms on my list, all bodied up into this one person, put into an extreme situation. Well, she kind of takes it on herself to be in that extreme situation. Yeah, it's not monsters or whatever, but it is, I mean, taking a kid off the street whose only life he ever knew was gangs, drugs, violence, sex.
Yeah.
That is monstrous in its own way. And the fact that she just...
And she doesn't know anything about him. She doesn't know
she just
if she's inviting that life into her house or what she's doing.
Yeah, she saw a kid in need and just knew what needed to be done.
Yeah.
I can only hope us as a species could follow that example of just knowing when to do the right thing and what the right thing to do is, and just to have that confidence in it. Because even when she questions it, she's not really questioning it. She literally is like, well, find out if anything gets stolen during the night. And then her primary concern the next morning is not if anything was stolen. Her primary concern is, where's Michael? Michael, what are you doing? You're home. Like, this can be your home. She's everything a mother to me should be. And that's why she had to be number one for me.
I love that about her. I knew, of course, you love Sandra Bullock. You talk about her constantly. But I also love that about her, that she is, they've got their stuff together. They're fairly well off. But she has her priorities straight in the sense that she doesn't care about her things getting stolen as much as she cares about the possibility that this kid could need help and just needs a safe place to stay. if they have things stolen, it's worth the chance that it would have saved him during the night or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. She also does the thing where her friends, quote unquote friends, are pretty judgmental and kind of shitty. And so that group, that like kind of judgy high society Karen group, she's like, calls them out, cuts them off. She's like, this is not a priority compared to my family, which includes Michael.
Yeah. Just like, I love how she just shuts him up. Like, nope, we're not going down this path.
Yeah, it's perfect.
She took number one. I juggled quite a bit with her and Evelyn and Rosie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those three really were just, essentially they're all tied in my mind, but I had to put them numerically. But Sandra Bullock as Leanne Tui, just, she's all encompassing. That's why she took number one for me.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Like you, my top three kind of bounced around a lot. Like you said, my number one ended up having to be Rosie Betzler from Jojo Rabbit. And her whole, like you said, her whole nature and energy is just the ideal mom to me. Yeah. Like the best example of a mom unconditionally loving her child, even when he's rebelling or claims to want to be something that he doesn't fully understand. And she can't really convince him that, no, you don't want to be a Nazi. And he just thinks it's cool and interesting and exciting. And she loves him anyway, isn't harsh on him, isn't like doing anything to damage their relationship, just continuing to try to instill morals and guide him in good directions, like you were saying, little hints at things that just kind of guide him in the right path, even if he's interested in the obvious wrong path. That's a unique challenge to handle as a mom. But I think that even if she fundamentally and completely disagrees with something that he's into, the fact that it doesn't shut her off, or she isn't like mean to him or super strict or anything. She's understanding. I get it. We're in the middle of this thing. They have uniforms. It's fun. But she knows overall it's not fun. But she still relates to her son as a mom. She's able to like still be a mom in this seriously dark and complicated time when your whole town is overrun by Nazis. You're hiding a Jewish girl in your house at the same time, but she's still able to be silly with him and connect on his level with him and relate to him. And I think that's why it ultimately gets through. And when he discovers that there's a little Jewish girl, his mom's voice in his head is stronger than his imaginary friend Hitler in his voice saying, hey, you should sell out this Jewish girl. It'd be totally cool, bro. And I think that level of instilling morality and everything is just a successful parent. If you can do that, which she did, that's the goal. And she does it in the most extreme circumstance. So that's why I think she's kind of at the top there.
It's fair. She's such an incredible character. That she just is, because not only is she being mother, a true mom to JoJo, but in a way, she has to be a kind of a mother figure for Elsa.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, she's taken on that responsibility, and she doesn't bat an eye about it. I just think that she's such a powerful character, and Scarlett Johansson plays her just so like, holy crap.
Yeah, I know, it's flawless.
It really is flawless, and what a beautiful movie, and the character is just, everything you said is spot on. Rosie is she is such a powerful mom, and every time I watch it, I do believe like it is solely her parenting and the subtle things that she says to JoJo that combat and ultimately overcome his brainwashing. Oh, it's so good. People, if you haven't seen Jojo Rabbit, what is wrong with you? Go watch this movie.
Yeah, it's
And
fantastic.
if you make it through Jojo Rabbit without shedding a tear, I don't believe you watched Jojo Rabbit.
Right. Yeah, it's the one that I think is most like Life is Beautiful, which you brought up earlier. This is the mom version, and Life is Beautiful is the dad version.
Oh, man. That's it. That's our top 10.
All right. Congratulations, moms. We appreciate you. We celebrate you. What honorable mentions do you have?
Despite the ones that we've already mentioned, I will say it's kind of a hard movie to find, but if you can find it, it's worth a watch. Rusty Dennis from the movie Mask. She's played by Cher. She's another mom. Her son is born with like a rare deformity, and she, much like Mrs. Gump, raises her son to "you're no different. If you want something, you go for it. You work for it." She's a tough as nails mom, but she's an incredible mom, and that's another movie that'll rip out your heartstrings. I gotta go with some more comic booky shit. She's not exactly mom, but she is as mom as this character has ever known. I gotta have Aunt May from the Spider-Man movies. Like, pick one. I don't care which one. It's Aunt May. She raised Peter Parker. Come on.
Yeah.
And then
the hot one.
Perhaps one of the most impactful mother figures for our generation, Littlefoot's mom from The Land Before Time.
Yeah.
Some people might laugh and be like, Dustin put a children's movie honorable mention. Go watch The Land Before Time.
Yeah. That obviously describes that you've never seen The Land Before Time, and you don't know how delicious a tree star looks.
Oh, the tree stars. Oh, Land Before Time. That's a movie, folks. Woo.
That is indeed a movie. Okay, my honorable mentions. I had Carol Brander from Just Friends, because I don't know that a week goes by that we don't quote her in some respect, the way that she's just an innocent, oblivious, sweet mom when her kids are just kind of grown up and running amok.
What ham did you slap?
Yeah, we say that constantly. She's hilarious. And then Lena Headey's character as the mom in Fighting with My Family, where she plays I'm completely blanking on her name, but she plays the mom of these two kids who are they're like a wrestling family, and she does a really, really good job, actually, and it's really funny to see Lena Headey's version versus the real mom, and then credits they're spot on. That's just exactly what it was.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And then the next most notable one I could come up with had to be Vivica A. Fox in Independence Day. Even though she's dating Will Smith, even though she's a stripper, she meets the first lady. She saves her life. She's raising this kid. She's awesome. There's nothing wrong with being a stripper. You got to pay the bills.
I just think it's funny that you threw in Independence Day. She was one of those mom figures that I was like, oh yeah, and she's a prominent mom in the movie.
Yeah.
But then I was like, no, I'm not going to put her on. I do have one more. Since you brought up a Christmas movie, I'm going to bring one up too. She only has 2 scenes in the whole movie, but her character is so perfectly done. Mrs. Roberts from The Night Before.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly the dinner scene with her at the table, the way that she talks to all the characters and interacts with them, and the way that she takes just the silliness at the table, but she brings it down to such a very real moment. Mm-hmm. And what she has to say is just so poignant. Mrs. Roberts that's the scene every time I watch that movie where I'm like, oh, here she comes. She's going to be talking to me. I always feel that it's personal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how that's just like a thing. Like they capture that feeling so perfectly where your kids' friends, even though they're all grown up, they're still your son's friends, and you treat them kind of the same way as like an extension of gotta feed you, gotta do all this stuff.
They're pseudo kids. I mean,
Yeah.
I had friends whose families did that with me, and my mom and dad did that with them. It was a thing in that movie, and that scene particularly really resonates with me because we're all in our 30s, and I guarantee if I still lived near home,
yeah,
I could walk in the door, you could walk in the door, and my folks would still be like, oh, hey! Like, it's just a thing you do.
Yeah. You want to stay for dinner?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's all I got.
Yeah. What are we doing next week? Oh, yeah. Next week is not quite as wholesome, but I hope this was wholesome for you.
I'm so excited for next week. I cannot wait.
Next week is going to be a trip.
Next week, we're doing a double feature. We normally do our dissection episodes of one movie, but we're going to do two because they are very closely tied and one informs the other. So we're doing The Room, which is the best bad movie of all time, and The Disaster Artist, which is the
movie about the making
fictionalized, based on the book of The Room. It's a whole weird thing, and it's so ridiculous, the whole thing, that I can't wait to break it all down.
Yeah, it's been a few years since I watched The Room. I'm curious and looking forward to rewatching it. And I'm sure I'm going to have all the same thoughts that everyone to this day is still having of who the fuck is Tommy Wiseau?
Yes. He's a mysterious and incredible person. If you've never seen The Room, you should watch it. It's just you should go into it knowing that it's a hilariously bad movie. When I sat my wife down to watch it, I did not tell her anything about it. I was like, we need to watch this movie. And she was like, okay. She believed me at the time. Now she knows better not to do that. And it was probably 30 minutes into it. She was like, what the fuck are we watching? And then probably about 30 minutes in, she started laughing and she started to get it and get how ridiculous it is. And ended up really having a fun time with it. So it's hilarious.
I had someone ask me what The Room was and what it's about. And I literally looked at them and told them, I don't know how to explain that movie. I actually don't know what the movie is about, but
it's about Tommy.
See it, but you shouldn't see it, but you should.
You should definitely see it.
See it.
It's one of those things you need to experience in order to believe it exists because it's so ridiculous.
So we're doing a double dissection, trying to figure out who Tommy Wiseau is. Tell me you've seen the trailer for his new movie.
Oh yeah, the shark thing. Yes. As soon as it came out, and they were like, I was wondering where he went, and now that I know he's still making movies, I'm so happy because I will absolutely watch it. He's a enigma of a person, and we need to.
So that'll be
very special.
That'll be a fun one. It'll be an interesting one. We might need a couple beers for that one.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But that's all we got, guys. If you haven't already, go pick up some fun merch while it's still there. I think. Is it still going to be there with this?
It is still going to be there for like 2 more weeks when this comes out.
Yeah.
So Memorial Day weekend, we're switching up the merch store, and it's going to be all new stuff. So
we have
get
fun stuff like we're on puzzles now.
We are puzzles. Our faces are puzzles.
We're on puzzles. Which is like the most fun thing for me. I just think that's.
I know you are a giant puzzle nerd who has done more puzzles in 1 year than I've done in my entire life.
I was doing a puzzle before we started recording.
I just want to make you happy.
I love puzzles; they're so good. So go get your swag, and we will see you next time, guys.
All right, thanks everybody.